tonight. I'm Mike Brooks. We do have a big night ahead of us. We're going to go right to our two experts. We have Dr. Matt Mott. He's an assistant professor of political science at Oklahoma State University, and Dr. David Blatt. He is a professor of public policy at OU Tulsa as we continue to kind of follow the results. Now that we've reached 7 o'clock, we're going to start getting some numbers. So, gentlemen, if you can talk about what's happening. I do want to talk about campaigning here in Oklahoma. Maybe Dr. Blatt, if you want to speak about this. As we're doing the newscast, we're watching a lot of these political ads, and this year they seem to be a little dirtier than usual. Do you want to talk about that? How has maybe President Trump changed the political advertising that we're seeing these days with his kind of in-your-face ads?
Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of presidential ads here in Oklahoma because we're not a battleground state. I do think that we're seeing some in the U.S. Senate race with Senator Inhofe and Abby Broyles.
Yes.
Some of the local races, we've seen a fair amount of negative campaigning. I don't know that any of the ads we've seen here break entirely new ground, but I do think that there were certainly some people who were somewhat put off by some of the ads suggesting that if you were a liberal or progressive, you're not a true Oklahoman. That was one that raised some hackles that came from Senator Inhofe. I'm sure the other side, also has some concerns, but we really haven't seen any competitive statewide races this time. So just the barrage of ads that you'd be seeing if you were living in Ohio or Pennsylvania is not really the case here.
Yeah, although one place where we do see a lot of advertising happening right now is Oklahoma's 5th district. We have one of the most competitive House races in America. Public opinion polling has been switching back and forth between Bice and Horn. Right now, it's neck and neck. And political advertising in Oklahoma's 5th is in the top 10 most expensive races in America. It's seen some of the most total advertising airings in America, and it has some of the most outside interest group investment in America. And so, in addition to the negativity, we're just seeing a ton of ads in certain parts of Oklahoma for that race in particular.
And Dr. Mata, we're also seeing these ads kind of carrying over. Not only are we seeing and hearing them on television, but even on my little Pandora. In the news business, we call this OTT, over the top. It's all encompassing, social media, all of the extensions there that everybody is on. But we're seeing these advertisements appear everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Both campaigns have made a vested interest in trying to reach on social media platforms, especially younger voters. That is now a critical part of the campaign. That's been the case for years, but especially in a time of global pandemic, when candidates can't necessarily hold rallies and campaign door to door, the social media advertising, the advertising on radio airwaves and digital radio airwaves becomes all the more important.
Excellent. Dr. Blatt, anything you want to add to that?
It's been interesting, if you look at the presidential candidates, they've taken a very different approach in terms of how to campaign, where Trump has not only had multiple, dozens of large in-person rallies, but he's also had his campaign volunteers and staff going door to door for months, whereas Democrats have largely stayed away from that due to the pandemic and have really focused on text messaging and phone calls. I did see some data today that suggested that far more Democratic voters and Republican voters nationally say that they've actually been contacted by one of the presidential candidates. But I do think that if this turns out to be a victory for President Trump re-election, there'll be a lot of second guessing about the decision not to do that in-person campaigning and via rallies and door knocking.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We have passed that special hour, so we should start getting some numbers in. Next time we talk to you, we will go ahead and talk about perhaps some of the state questions and the numbers that we are seeing being reported by the election board right there.